Catch-up contributions sound smart on paper, but for many retirees, they actually backfire, potentially to the tune of thousands of dollars. In today's video, we're going to challenge the conventional wisdom around catch-up contributions and show you a more effective way to allocate your money during your final working years. Most people assume that the more you save, the better your retirement will be. And while that's true on paper, there's a hidden cost to oversaving: the inability to enjoy what you've built. I'm Eric Amzalag. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the owner of a flat fee financial planning firm, and I've worked with dozens of pre-retirees, and I help people not just retire on time, but retire with confidence. And what I've seen time and time again is this: catch-up contributions often delay a much more important milestone, which is knowing how to spend. So that's why in this video, we're going to cover why catch-up contributions can backfire emotionally and financially, the psychology of spending and why it matters before retirement, 5 smart, practical ways to use that money instead. I worked with a client recently who had maxed out catch-up contributions each year from age 50 until 63, and she thought she was setting herself up for a better retirement. But when it came time to spend, she couldn't. And that strategy just didn't give her peace of mind. It gave her anxiety and eventually was going to result in tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in unused savings. But here's the real issue. When many pre-retirees finally reach retirement age, they discover that they're emotionally unprepared to spend what they've saved. They've been told their whole lives to save, 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 and 401k catch-up contributions and super catch-up contributions continue to contribute to that save, save, save mindset. And so when it's time to flip the switch and actually spend, retirees find themselves unable to do so. I call this the permission to spend problem. And the permission to spend problem is so prevalent that it spawned its own set of research, which we'll go through in a bit together today. Now, it's extremely subtle, but very powerful. And if the permission to spend problem isn't attended to, it could be the difference between a retirement filled with experiences and joy versus one filled with tension and regret. So let's begin by breaking down why this happens. The first reason is that we attach morality to saving, right? By saving, I'm doing something right. Catch-up contributions make us feel like we're doing the quote-unquote right thing. It feels responsible, but it also delays the emotional shift that we need to make to become confident spenders. And too much of any good thing, and it can become a bad thing, right? So a really easy and relatable example of this would be dieting. We all know that eating fewer calories and exercising more can help us lose weight. It's the moral or right thing in some cases. But if we keep eating less and moving more, we would end up anorexic, frail, and ultimately land ourselves in the hospital, right? Eating less and moving more may be the right thing for a period of time or to a certain extent. And the same is true for saving, right? Saving for retirement is the right thing to do for a period of time, at which point you would switch to a new mode of being. The second reason the permission to spend problem occurs is because we miss the rehearsal period, right? Retirement spending is a new behavior, and like any new habit, it requires practice. If you've never practiced spending on things that matter while working, it won't get easier when the paycheck stops. The term catch-up itself reinforces this mindset. As this MarketWatch article puts it, the catch-up name comes because the extra money that people 50 and older are allowed to put into a 401k every year is intended to help them make up for earlier years when they couldn't spare as much. But the 15% or so of people who make use of the actual provision aren't actually catching up from anything. They're actually already ahead. Now, that's a quote directly from this MarketWatch article, and there's some research to show that people who use catch-up provisions are already ahead with their retirement savings. These catch-up contributions often keep those well-prepared retirees in a saving mindset, even when they no longer need to. And as a result, many of those well-prepared retirees would miss an opportunity for a rehearsal period where they could actually practice spending and getting ready for spending in their actual retirement. The third reason the permission to spend problem occurs is because we associate peace of mind with account balances. Many of us assume that more savings equals lower stress. And again, while that's true on paper, I've seen clients with $2 million feel terrified to spend a dime, and I've seen people with $800,000 live fully because they understand and trust their plan. So the question is, what can you do instead, right? What if instead of blindly funneling extra dollars into your accounts, you use those final working years to build spending confidence so that you can go into retirement with practice and having muscles already flexed and built to actually allow for spending in retirement? I am suggesting that strategic pre-retirement spending is actually the better approach in many cases than using catch-up contributions, especially given the fact that the people already using catch-up contributions are already oversaved. Based on the research, chances are if you are in a position to make use of catch-up contributions, you're already in a position where your retirement plan works without extra savings. And that being the case, then each dollar you would have contributed to your catch-up contributions can, or you could even make the case that it maybe should be used to make your life better now and prepare yourself for the future. Now here's why this matters. Spending while you still have a steady paycheck, especially one that's not tied to market performance and one that you don't have to be in charge of creating, is psychologically much easier. That sense of stability, of not having to be in charge of your own paycheck, gives you more confidence to spend on meaningful things without guilt or fear. There's also a financial logic here, the time value of money. So to take a look at expenses you're likely to incur no matter what, you're probably gonna have to do something to your HVAC system or a plumbing upgrade or maybe even buy a new reliable car. Those aren't maybe expenses over a 30-year retirement, right? They're very highly likely, they're most likely inevitable. And costs in categories like home repairs or auto expenses have risen faster than general inflation, right? Over the past 6 years alone, home improvement costs have gone up 19.2% and home repair or auto repair costs have gone up almost 20%, right? So you could make the case that it could be smarter, both emotionally and financially, to handle those types of expenses while you're still working, even if that means doing away with or forgoing your catch-up contributions. Another great example of this would be health. Right? Investing in a personal trainer, physical therapy, or a nutritionist while you're still earning and getting a paycheck can be life-changing. Not only are those expenses easier to justify while you have a paycheck that doesn't come from your portfolio, but those types of expenses also come with compounding benefits, right? Your future self could avoid larger healthcare costs later, which, by the way, are likely to be your second or third largest retirement expense. So all of this to say, this doesn't mean being reckless with your spending. What we're talking about is being thoughtful and purposeful about purchases that will remove future stress and enhance your lifestyle or bring you joy that you might not be psychologically in a position to make if you delay them until you're retired. Now, we call this pre-retirement optimization. So here are 5 smart ways clients are using funds that would have been catch-up contributions to both rehearse their retirement spending, but also to prepare for a better retirement overall. First, consider home repairs that you've been delaying, right? The aging roof or the HVAC system, fix those things now while you are earning, right? It's a lot less stressful to deal with them while your employer is responsible for your paycheck rather than waiting until your portfolio is responsible for crafting that paycheck. The second thing to consider would be a new car or an auto repair, right? Buying a reliable vehicle before retirement means one less big purchase during retirement, and a well-maintained car could last you 15 years, meaning you'll just reduce the frequency of how often you'll have to buy a big one-time purchase during retirement. The third thing to consider would be health and fitness. Now, we've already talked about this a little bit, but investing in a personal trainer, physical therapy, or even just equipment that you can keep at home can help you enter retirement healthier and more capable. And the earlier you start with your health and fitness, the more dividends it pays. Like there's lots and lots of research. In fact, I did a video a couple weeks ago that talked about this exact thing. The fourth thing to consider would be travel, right? You don't have to wait till you're retired to travel. Take a trip you've been delaying. Not only will you enjoy it more while you're younger, it builds the confidence that spending can be rewarding. On top of that, you can actually practice using your time off while you're still working, and that can act as a mini or a phased retirement, right? It can give you another rehearsal opportunity where you practice spending, but also explore how you would use your time similar to the way you would when you're retired. And the fifth and final thing to consider would be consider gifts to your kids. If helping your children is important to you, gifts are always more valuable to the receiver today than at the end of life. Now, not only that, but the experience of giving the gift will be far more valuable because you'll be able to see and experience the impact that the gift had firsthand. And so at the end of the day here, the permission to spend problem isn't just a mindset issue, it's a planning issue. And catch-up contributions, while well-intentioned, can mask the real emotional work of preparing for retirement, which is really giving yourself the freedom to spend confidently. And getting that freedom does require practice intentionally over a period of time. And by replacing those last-minute savings to, catch-up contributions with smart, intentional spending that you would have done anyways at a future point in your life, you're not just optimizing your budget, you are actually practicing retirement in a lower stress kind of simulated manner. You're going to reduce future stress, you might avoid some inflation risk, and you might avoid some lifestyle hesitation. So the sooner you align your spending with your values and your priorities, the sooner that you'll gain the clarity and confidence that your retirement plan will actually work for you. So now that you understand how the permission to spend problem and catch-up contributions together may be holding you back, you can use this information to make a more intentional decision about how to allocate your surplus money in the years leading up to retirement. And if you want to learn more about how we help our clients tackle the complex financial and psychological decisions that lead up to retirement, just click the first link below this video to watch another free video of mine. In that video, I will walk you through the process we use with our clients here at Peak Financial Planning. Thanks as always for your time and attention. See you in the next video.